I read a lot and would write short stories, would try to begin a book, and then never really, didn't always have the ideas for stories in my head. I'm sure you all can relate. There's probably got 1,000 stories in your head. Never really finished a book. I was a professor for 8 years, and as I was transitioning to go back to come, and I was in Austin, ironically found out that I was a professor at the same university in Austin that she graduated from, Houston Tillotson. And so I always liked the romance genre. I loved, when I was working on my dissertation, I was cleaning my house, so I had the Hallmark channel on in the background. And so I was like, this is pretty, it seems pretty accessible. Like it should be a lighter lift than writing a book. I'll write a Hallmark screenplay. And that was, I think, the first piece of creative writing that I actually finished. I finished it as I moved to Louisiana, met a writing group, and then the teacher of that writing group knew someone at Hallmark, and knew a director. So actually got the script far enough along in the process. It almost was greenlit. I got connected with a director who's an Emmy Award-winning Hallmark movie producing director, and so worked with him. And then Hallmark sort of changed its leadership, and so then suddenly my screenplay that is already has to be pretty tame, right? Because it's for the Hallmark channel, still wasn't tame enough, and so there was a lot of like edits and stuff that. So after that, I was like, you know what? I did this for the experience. I learned the craft of my very first screenplay. I was surprised that it had gotten that far. So I was like, I think this is a good time for me to exit. So I wrote a total of 2, and then sort of just had, just looking for the next project. It was when I was at and this kind of gets into the fan fiction of it all. It was when I was a director of communications at Whitney Plantation in Wallace, which is a plantation and slavery museum. So it focuses on slavery and its legacies. I'm also a descendant. But I was there as a director of communications. I was in the bookshop, and we get this sample book sent in, this very one right here. It's made for children, and I see that it is Mary Bowser in a Civil War spy ring. So I'm like, what is this? And so then read the back about it, and I'll just read. It's a true story of bravery. Mary Bowser was an African-American spy for the Union who worked as a maid in the mansion of Confederate President Jefferson Davis. And so I've never heard of her story, read through the book and decided that I wanted to research more. And then I thought, her story needs to be told. And I don't know why I thought I was the one that I was even worthy of telling it, but I was just so interested in her story. And also working at a museum, a plantation, and hearing so much trauma, this story of African American history was something that was a good way for me to understand all the elements of Black history, all the ways in which we have contributed to American history. And so that began me on that journey. But just one piece, and then we can talk more about fan fiction. The spy ring leader was a white woman that was actually her in slavery, but only on paper. She was secretly an abolitionist, she lived in Virginia and was pro-union, pro-Lincoln, but she was a leader of the spy ring, up in here, sorry, this woman here. She was the leader of the spy ring. So now look at the difference in the book for the white woman that is the spy ring leader versus the spy, right? And so that's sort of by design, because as an African American woman who worked in the spy ring, it was very dangerous. Like, you didn't know that the South shall rise again there were plans to break back the Confederacy, and so it's really dangerous for both of them. So what happens is, in trying to tell her story, I have a lot of information on Elizabeth Van Leeuwen, but not a lot of information on Mary Bowser. So I have to read her to find out about her. And that is where the imagination and the fan connection with fan fiction, I'm having to piece together who Mary Bowser was. I have to create these scenarios that are Civil War, like represent the Civil War, but may not have actually, it probably didn't actually happen. unless I'm channeling something, didn't actually happen. So like I have to piece together who she is, what happened, and then also make sure that I'm respecting this, who is a person who's an actual person. And as a Black woman writing about a Black woman, there are certain elements that I have to make sure, that I want to make sure that I get absolutely right, and I'm doing right by her story. And so I've been working on this a while, and I think that Mary Bowser, I feel as a real person that lives, she has a real energy about her, and she's been a bit closed off, I think, for a couple of years now, in channeling and connecting and allowing me to tell her story, giving me that honor. So when Latoya asked me to do this, and we had kind of talked about this before, I was like, I don't think that I'm qualified to do this, but if it is anything, if it's her speaking to me and her loosening up, then of course I'll do anything for her. I just absolutely, I love Mary Bowser and all that she represented. So sorry for that long little monologue, but I just wanted to kind of explain how I'm here writing fan fiction. So anyway, I guess we'll start off, like, when we say fan fiction, like what is it to you? There's sort of definitions. I guess I looked to see, like, as formal definitions I could find as a professor. I was like, what scholarly articles can I find on what is fan fiction? I couldn't just do a Google search. But yeah, but it doesn't, like, what do you think of when you think of fan fiction?
All the stories I wrote when I was mesmerized by Robert Downey Jr. in my late teens.
That part. Robert Downey Jr., huh?
Yeah.
See it? All right.
It was either him or Tom Brady. It just depended on the day.
Oh, God, girl, no. Stick with Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Okay. I love it. It just keeps getting better, right?
I think of rewriting the ending of a story that I didn't like. I didn't like it. I'm like, oh, let me rewrite this in my mind. It happens the way I see it in my head, the way it should happen. Yeah. Let me rewrite it.
You always question, and why did they end it like that?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
My son, when he was 7, he tells me, Mama, I'm going to write a story about the character in this book, but it's going to be something that happened to him that wasn't in the book.
Wow.
So the character's going to do other things in my story. And I'm like, it's called fan fiction, baby.
Right.
Right? You're taking someone else's character and putting them into your own story.
Yeah, you got a writer in the midst. That's awesome. Well, and you know, like, I think fan fiction as a genre, you know, I think that there is a lot of when we think about it, maybe it's not taken as legitimately as developing your own, you know, primary story. But you know, according to the articles that I read, it is actually a very important part of the writing process, and it is legitimate because it's a way that we are taking in the material, and how are we experiencing it. And it's really particularly important when we're reading genres that are not inclusive, right? So I mean, how many we know as women, as people of color, that you read a book and it's like, it's great, but I don't, you know, like, how am I part of, you know, Pride and Prejudice? You know, like, and so then I can take that story and make Pride and Prejudice, but with Black people. And then a few years later, that's exactly what's happening now. Like that genre, that period, which, you know, a lot of African American women, you know, love Jane Austen too. Now we start writing characters in that time frame, right? Based off of real storylines, or real, you know, either fiction or non-fiction stories that we hadn't necessarily heard about. So that's really important. Another aspect is that because there's a community of people that are around a specific genre or a television show or a book, you have a built-in community. So I love the fact that we're sitting here talking about, like, I want to socialize. You know, it's really important for me to socialize. well, these fan fiction groups were ways of like, you already know you go to a group, you have something in common, and you have a really powerful way of engaging with each other. So, like, it being taken legitimately, I think is more than, I'm glad that there is a body of research that shows how important that work is. But does anyone know, like, can anyone like trace, what do you think like the first fan fiction was? There is sort of a time when fan fiction is getting credited for starting. I can tell you it was based off of a TV show in the 60s.
Okay. What?
Nash.
Okay, not mad. Good option. If you like sci-fi, if you like
Star Trek?
Star Trek. Because do you realize that Star Trek only lasted 3 seasons?
Did it?
No. Star Trek is eternal.
Seasons. And so 3 seasons, but it had such a huge fan base that people started writing their own Star Trek fiction. And then you had the conventions, the Star Trek conventions, and that's when people started gathering together and were like, wait, I wrote something on Star Trek, you wrote something. And so they started exchanging their own fiction. And so that's what's being credited as the first fan fiction group. And of course, everything being online, that's when we have online communities, that's what really boosted on the popularity of fan fiction. So watch me enjoy a little background about that. Does anyone have a fan fiction that they follow, that they write, that they like?
Okay, I don't know if I'd call it fan fiction, but if I'm going with characters in a book that did things that weren't in the original, oh sure, that's good. The thing I've loved, the one I've loved most is James by Herschel Everett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he takes Jim from Huck Finn and makes him James and tells James' story.
Wow.
And it is absolutely incredible. And I'm like, I don't know if that's fan fiction, but I feel like it kind of is under the parameters of that definition. Everybody read it. I was reading it with my jaw on the ground. People kept coming up to me asking what I was reading. Yeah.
Okay, I do. I definitely. That sounds very interesting.
It's incredible.
What's the name of it?
James by Percival Everett. Yeah, he takes one of Twain's characters and makes that character his own.
Right.
Love that.
Cool.
That book is incredible.
Anyone else that is following? And you don't. One of mine is called Beauty, which was Beauty and the Beast, but it's told from it's just a different retelling of the story from a, I don't know, like more sensitive, I guess more socially relevant point of view. I read it when I was really young, so I don't know if it would still stand up as a grown up, but that was one of my favorites. So I guess moving on to some actual writing. If like, look, I'm telling you, I did not bring anything scholarly enough for us to write on. But I was just thinking, if we're going to write, first of all, to get us to warm us up, because we just started, some of the ways in which we can start out there. Oh wait, I have one more example of a fan fiction, because many of our favorite spin-off TV shows are like examples of fan fiction. And one of my favorite examples is Friends is fan fiction. You know what the Friends show is fan fiction of?
Living Single.
Living Single. I knew
I am a fan.
Right.
Such a much better.
So we would talk about things being inclusive and all, but then also maybe some things being, shall we say, maybe co-opted sometimes, depending on how you look at it and who gets credit for it. I think that's the other side of it that we can talk about as well, right? Or think about with that. That's the last of the examples. So to get us started writing, again, I just wanted to start off with something nice and light. So Halloween is almost here. So what I'd like for you to do is to take your favorite nursery rhyme or fairy tale or story and turn it into horror or suspense. That's it. That's the right way. Oh, and I have some examples here. I have like, you can make like Three Little Pigs, Jack and the Beanstalk, Humpty Dumpty, Hanzo, the Ugly Duckling. The favorite nursery rhyme or fairy tale, turn it into a horror or suspense story. They take 4 more minutes, yeah. All right. Seems like we got some good spooky stories. Who wants to go first?
I will. It's from Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And so here we go. Pumpkins, pumpkins, orange, orange they are, as we carve them near and far. Decorations everywhere you look, black and orange in every nook. Pumpkins, pumpkins, orange they are.
Woo! I love that so much. Okay. Nice. He started off strong. Can I just say too, that this is what I love about fan fiction, because I gave you a prompt and you were like, but I don't like spooky Halloween, so I'm gonna make it into what works for me, what I want, and like that's the whole point of it, right? So like, I love that. Who's next?
Okay. Cinderella entered her castle with her new prince, all shiny and beautiful. He was lovely, he was charming. He carried her over the threshold to their happily ever after. After the dance under the moonlight, she noticed a wart on his chin, and then another. His toes busted out of his shoes and popped out where there were snakes.
Oh, wow. That's dark. I want to hear more. All right, who's next? We have a very strong start.
So twinkle, twinkle, little star, I wonder what you are. Up above the go so high, like a monster in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, then you show your scary sight. Twinkle, twinkle, all night. Then the traveler in the night popped out not so far.
Oh, wow. Y'all right.
That is.
That's scary.
It's very spooky.
That's spooky.
All right, who's next?
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread, and killed and dismembered them and buried them under the bed.
I didn't see it coming.
Podcasting, not just members.
How else are you gonna get all those kids under the bed?
I love it.
Very good.
Okay, well, y'all are really, when you say you understood the assignment, y'all Okay. Okay, that's it. All right. Okay, well, good. I mean, this is a great start. Great start. I want to sort of switch to in response to the book Daughters of the New Year, which I admittedly have not read yet. So I kind of skimmed through it, I read the back, and see it's absolutely wonderful. Can't wait to read it, but I did want to reference it. And so one of the questions that I'd ask is, what if we look at a unique aspect of the Vietnamese culture, and imagine that it is common in New Orleans culture, that is something that is not unique to the Vietnamese culture, how does this, in what ways does this change the story or the characters? Like for instance, I mean, which character do you think would benefit from the most from that? From the change, or are there any characters that would benefit? I'm sorry, not benefit. It would negatively impact. So something about an aspect of the Vietnamese culture that is not unique to that culture, something that all of a sudden it's common. Like how does that change the story or character? And either you can like respond in that particular aspect that you're choosing from, or if you just want to describe, it, that's fine. That's fine too. So do you understand that question?
I was going to say, could you rephrase that?
Yeah. Okay, so if it is, we have elements of our culture that are unique to our community, right? So what is it about the Vietnamese community or culture that is unique, right? Whatever the aspect is, that if all of a sudden it became not so unique to the Vietnamese culture, how would that impact one of the characters in the story or the story itself? Like, would there be someone that would benefit from this being a common aspect that's shared, or is there a character that would not benefit from that and actually be a negative impact? And if you want to write something, or if you just want to talk about it or think about it. Also, if there's something particular to your culture that if you feel that would be common, like how would it change the way that you approach life, and how would it impact you?
So it could be either or.
It could be either or, I guess.
It depends on how central like your ethnicity is to how you live your life.
Exactly.
If you are someone who, what character, somebody like being black is like very central to how you live, the ways you dress, and that determines life. Now, and it's gonna, or I would say to rephrase it, is say I'm Vietnamese, and me being a Vietnamese is like my whole personality, and now all of a sudden it's just like popping with something that I would. I feel like the character really has to be introspective and honestly thinking about them, like as a human being, to feel like it's individual.
That's a
Think about identity. Like, what are those aspects of our identity that is maybe positive to us, but maybe not thought about as positive to other cultures? What do we want to do with it? You know, like, do we want to get rid of it? Do we want the rest of the world to accept it? Then is it still our identity anymore?
I think that are doing like this imaginative but really solid work that's through fan fiction that expands to me the narrow and boring idea of what America is or what identity is. And so I think with fan fiction is it fills me with such possibility, and it helps me realize that the depth of people and experiences, that it can never be condensed into a canon, right?
That's what I was just about to ask you. Like, if it's fan fiction, and if that's what it's like building, like how do you balance respecting the canon, but then also like inviting people to imagine, dream, put themselves in it, and right.
I have this debate with a lot of historians, you know, because I can debate, or I don't want to debate dates and this and there's a space for that, I just don't want to be there. I want to think about. I want to think about what people's stories are, what the possibilities are, what like whose stories haven't been heard, or what are the possible stories of our ancestors, and that's the kind of like impetus for fan fiction. So I want to validate fan fiction specifically because these are people trying to answer questions that we might not ever know.
I was watching a documentary on Toni Morrison, and she talks about how she was writing Beloved, which I guess in this context would be considered fan fiction, because she said it was she was inspired by a real woman's life, Margaret Barnett. I think that's her last name. However, she didn't listen to she didn't read the whole, like, all the historical information about her. She made assumptions based on, like, ancestral memory and, like, also, like, some historical research, but also, but, like, just her being a black woman and her position in that, her trying to imagine what it would be like to be a mother.
Intuition.
Yeah, intuitive. And so she created Beloved. So that reminds me of, like, just what you said, like, history can be a little, like, limiting and very, like, two-dimensional. But when you, like, can imagine what things could possibly be, you can add, like, more narratives in to, like, just, I guess, humanize history as well.
And I think that's so important when we get into this debate all the time, where in talking about the history of slavery and in narratives that are at plantations, what we have seen is that there are people that say, well, we only stick to their sites, we only stick to the records. We won't, like, we'll give the records, and then, but we're not into, like, we don't want to, like, project our opinions on anyone, so we just stick to the records. Well, guess what the records usually are of? Like the furniture and you know, like the architecture. That's their records, right? Like, they don't talk about the fact that you do have records of people being sold, of mothers of children being sold. Like, that says a lot. Yeah. Right, and then what we see is a lot of narrative built around, you know, the trappings of the wealth. But then when it comes to telling the story, you know, like taking imagination and wanting to feel and putting the humanity in a person's experience, and all of a sudden you have to stick to the historical record. So I think both what you're saying, like the invitation, right, and I would say the permission to be able to lean into, like, our imagination, our intuition, our humanity is really central, and I think the power of the fan fiction as a genre. All right, so y'all ready to write again? Y'all knocked it out the park so good the other time. All right. So what would happen if your favorite fictional character, one of your favorite fictional characters, turned into a real person, a real thing, and you had to take care of them? Now, are there endearing qualities, the things that you like about fiction, are they still endearing as a real person that you got to take care of?
Can this be a fictional character from a TV show?
Anyone. Would that character like you?
What's the last part?
Okay. So the things that you like about this character, so they're endearing qualities, right? Your favorite qualities, are they still endearing qualities if they're real and you have to take care of them and they're in your life? So will this person like you, or will this whatever, would they be annoying?
I feel like I need my therapist.
Would they find you annoying?
She'd be like Serena Dawn.
Think about it, yeah?
Not again.
So Claire Huxtable would be my grandma.
Wow.
I think we would be really close to each other, but very similar to each other. And so we would butt heads because two type A people can't actually function together. And then the other character would be Rudy. But Rudy would be my sister. And this is where it got kind of dark that like I grew up and found out she was actually my mom. But then I'm like, do I really want to see Rudy in that light? So then we brought it back to like she's just my big sister. Because Claire technically would be my mom if Rudy was my sister, but for some reason Claire's my grandma in this situation.
Okay, I see.
But I think me and Rudy would be like the best of friends. Like I would be the little sister, but we would very much like be best friends. We would love each other, like each other. We wouldn't have any like issues with each other.
I like the storyline where Rudy is your sister
Mom. Yeah.
I like them both, but yeah, okay.
I actually chose this one character in the story. His name is Ezra. But in this book, and I actually told the author this, it's a 3-book, 3 books in the series. I could not stand this character the entire book. It was like a romance story, but he was so overpowering, so aggressive, just in your face. And I used to always be like, she didn't have to do that much with him. You know, like, why did she make him that way? And then at the end of the 3rd book, you know, she kind of redeemed his character a little bit. So I started writing. I was like, oh, I would make him softer. I would make him more gentle. I would do this. And by the time I got to the end, I'm like, but would I actually like his character at that point? Like, if I changed his personality that much, I don't know. Because at least the character in her book, it made me feel some type of way. But if I changed that too much, like, I don't know. So by the time I got to the end, that's why I stopped writing. I'm like, I don't know if I like this character. He might just blend in too much, and I know how I am. I would probably be like, he's just, I'm bored, and I need to move on. So yeah, that was.
Sometimes being angry at a character really takes the deal.
Yeah, if you change your personality too much, you know, thinking that this is not what you want, like you might not like that new character either. So I just kind of stopped, and I'm like, now I got to think about this.
Never mind.
I don't know. Yeah.
Now, I don't read a lot of books. I think I was traumatized from grad school. So I'm just going with my favorite fictional TV characters right now. And it's going to be a doozy. So my favorite fictional character right now has to be Jackson Lamb from Slow Horses. I picture him as my lover. Something about unavailable, emotionally unavailable, traumatized, and smelly looking men attracts me. And it only applies to him. I think a flurry of fuck-offs would be shared on a daily, if not hourly basis. And I don't think I'd want to change that. I feel like he'll be able to go to work and do his thing, and I'll be able to do my thing, and we come home, share a laugh, maybe share a cigarette, and go back to sleep. If I were to choose someone my therapist would somewhat approve, it would be James Fraser from Outlander. The box for accents is ticked. Humor as well. Ruggedness, because I love getting my hands dirty, and I've been building little boats in the backyard since I was probably 8 years old. And loyalty is just chef's kiss for this man. So nothing I would change about him. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Again, y'all are just knocking it out the park. Yeah, I have to get back into the Outlander series.
For Netflix for Outlander, Slow Horses, Apple TV.
Okay, Slow Horses. I'm intrigued. I have to say,
really
I'm
good.
really intrigued.
It's actually
What is it on, Netflix or Hulu?
It's on Apple TV.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
we vibed and we had so much fun, but we became roommates. And she's not as vibey as I would want. She talks too much. She overshares. I just want a quietness. And can I sleep, please? Stop and be quiet already. Not another word.
So as she is, you could never have thought for a minute she was gonna be quiet.
No.
Okay.
Good for TV.
Yeah.
Not really. I didn't write anything, but I thought of something from the show The Last of Us. I was thinking of Ellie, and in the show I really hated her character because she was like really defiant and just had like such a strong attitude all the time. But if I knew her in real life, I feel like I would have a lot more empathy for her. Just because what she's been through, and I would probably, I would just like want to be her friend and really console her.
Oh, that's nice.
But in the show, she got on my nerves. But like in real life, I was like, okay, I would tolerate her.
That's nice. That's sweet. Anyone else want to share?
I can't share mine because my daughter's here.
You can't say that.
I can't share mine.
You need to go to the bathroom for a minute.
Pretty grown. You can share it.
All right, so I'm gonna go there.
Yes.
All right, so I went to TV. My absolute favorite show is Walker, Texas Ranger. So why is my favorite show Walker, Texas Ranger? And this is the character that I would bring home. I believe that he would love me as much as I love him. Chuck Norris, we talking about. I think I would be his Dale Evans to his Roy. He would be my Roy Rogers. And I think that, and so for me, it's the tight jeans and the boots.
There we go.
Okay? There you go. Yes. So now my daughter's gonna be like, oh, that's why you watch that all the day on Get TV.
Not for the riveting plot.
There you go.
All right. Okay. So yeah, and you think Walker Texas Ranger, you're gonna bring him home, and but
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris,
Yes.
you know, okay, you're gonna bring him home, and
You
he's
know,
not gonna annoy you or anything.
I kind of sort of stalked him. I evacuated to Dallas, and so I was in Texas for 10 years. He has a spring out in the country, and I started to buy his water. It was pretty good. I love being in Texas because I thought I was going to be close to him. Yeah. All right.
I'll share. There's a story by Jasmine Ward on here. It's an offshoot of her novel Letters to Send, but it's called Mother Swamp, and it interests me because it mentions the first settlements of Filipinos here in Louisiana that historically have been accounted for as like only men. So her story switches that up. It was like fan fiction of that, and puts forth the possibility. How about if that settlement was all women, and how would women then protect their community? What would that look like if they were settlement independent from the reaches of broader society, and how would they do that? Anyway, so it's a great on Audible. It's like 45 minutes. So we actually we play it as we do these tours to St. Bernard Parish. It's perfect. Like 45-minute ride, and then we start off with that story. But anyway, Mother Swamp. When I think about the characters, these women, and then, like, if they were alive, they literally would be, like, slapping me around, I think. Like, I would be too soft. You know, like, I don't know how to live outdoors. I don't know how to make a cave. I don't know how to sustain myself. Right? And so I think, like, these matriarchal characters who I really admire and appreciate, I think they would be so harsh, and they would make me cry like every day. Like they would, and here I am thinking that I'm a strong woman, but I'm sure, like, if they came to life, they would be like, no, you don't even know how to skin anything, how to feed yourself. No.
Okay, but put them on a plane. Who will do better? Who will do better?
Okay, now we just spun that off into another.
There you go.
See?
Put the numbers on a plane. See what they do.
Well, so I miss everybody. Everybody had too much. You don't have to share,
Okay, so I did Daughters of the New Year because I don't have a favorite fictional character because I love them all. So I just picked that book, And my favorite character from that book is Schwan, the mom. I love her. I wish we had more of her story, honestly. She's fiercely independent. She comes over in her early 20s from Vietnam with her mom and her sister. She makes a way out of no way every time. She becomes a business owner. She raises 3 kids barely knowing the language. She divorces the guy and lives alone. Like, she's so fiercely independent. And for that reason, if I had to take care of her, we would hate each other. Like, she wouldn't listen. She would hoard things. She would criticize my cooking every day because it's not like hers. And I think she would talk about me to my face in Vietnamese because I couldn't understand her. That's what she would do. And she'd look at me while she was talking about me on the phone to her friend. So I know she was talking about me. I still couldn't understand her. I think we'd hate each other. But I love her so much in the book.
That's true. That sounds. They're fun to read. Fun to read about, right? Fun as a fictional character. But and the reason why I wanted to do this exercise in particular is because when we're writing characters and the way that we when it's like this balance of what are the things that I like and what are the things that make me feel safe. But then maybe I'm a little bored. Is that necessarily going to be something that's exciting for me to write about, even to read? How does that really interact with my experience in this character? So I thought it's just always interesting, these people, the characters or the storylines that we think would be great. I love a good Lord of the Rings, right? And it's fun to watch, to read about the journey. But I know that if I was on that journey for 5 minutes, I or even since we're bringing up the swamps, and then we're preparing or creating a swamp tour for the Descendants Project. So we're writing the script. We're writing the script. And now, as much as I'm from St. John the Baptist Parish, got bayous and rivers and swamps all around me, so I think of myself as a swamp person. Then I realized, girl,
not so small. Not so small.
That little garden snake that you see outside that doesn't scare you. It's not the same as you being deep in the swamps. So, in my imagination, that is how it would be. But the reality of it all, maybe not so different. I think it's fun to kind of examine ourselves and examine characters and storylines, between reality and fiction, and how does that help us in our craft? This is very enjoyable. Thank you for having such great imagination and perspective.
Before everybody go, maybe you want to talk about the Words and Music Festival?
Oh, sure. I'll talk about it specifically in relation to this book, actually. So, Words and Music, our annual festival is coming up November 19th through 22nd. If you like Daughters of the New Year, you should mark your calendar for November 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Andre Caillou Center for Performing Arts and Cultural Justice, which is 2541 Bayou Road. At 2 p.m., Tran is going to be in conversation with another Viet author, Thi Bui, and they're going to be talking about her experience as a Vietnamese writer in New Orleans. And then directly after that, at 3:45, a group of high school students who've been reading Daughters of the New Year and using the curriculum that One Book One New Orleans developed in their classroom will actually be doing pieces that they have written inspired by Daughters of the New Year. So we'll get a twofer. And then if we're marking our calendars way out, December 13th, which is a Saturday at the main library from 1 to 3, the adult learners who are also using the curriculum that we developed for them will be writing pieces about their own families, and we'll be launching that collection of their writing at the main library, which is 219 Loyola. So yeah. Check wordsandmusic.org for 3.5 days worth of festival stuff.
And you're going to send us this, right? No.
I can? Yeah. I know y'all are all on our mailing list, but
Yeah.
I will send something out specifically to the group of people who registered for tonight.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll write down what I just said.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great. Thank you all.